Welcome along, everyone, to the 1UP Nitro National Series. We are at race number 14 of 25 in the 2021 season, and we're at the beautiful Indianapolis Motor Speedway, one of the most famous racetracks in the entire world. And we're here on the road course layout for today's race, and for 26 laps around the famous Brickyard. And alongside me in the booth, like always, is Duke Ansek. There's a lot to love about Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the history, the prestige, everything about it. But these cars are tackling a road course layout, which is relatively new as far as the history of the Speedway. So where are some key opportunities for drivers to make moves in this race? Because there aren't many of them. We only have one real fast corner in this entire lap. So it's going to be interesting to see where cars can make passes, if at all.
Yeah, the biggest corner that I'm going to be watching today to see where cars are going to make passes is turn one. It's every single race at this racetrack. Turn one is the biggest passing zone. It's a 90-degree right-hander at the end of the longest straightaway on the track, right down the front stretch, and that's where you're going to want to make your move. But you have to make it happen and get clear before turn two because the sides reverse. So if you're on the inside of turn one, you'll be on the outside of turn two. So you have to make it work in turn one. And that's where I'm going to be watching, especially at the start of this race, to see a lot of cars making a lot of big moves.
Looking at the grid order for today's race, the two Motor Dash Racing drivers have put themselves on the front row. Jared Jackson gets his second pole of the season, and Felix Anderson, his teammate and team owner, gets his career best start in second place. Looking back at the rest of the field, Mark Davey, the Sonoma winner, lines up third. He's got a real good shot today alongside Keon Daly. And the two championship contenders are lining up on row 3, Sam Donotto in 5th, and Valkenburg winner Alex Verget-Barub in the 3, lining up alongside him in P6. So, along with the Nashville winner, Ryan Caggiano, he's carrying some good momentum with him starting in 7th. So that top 7 in the running order looks really stacked from where I'm standing. Is there any way any of the guys outside that top 7 can get things done, or is it looking to be one of those 7 that you see go to victory lane here today?
More than likely it's going to be one of those 7. And of course, you never know because the race hasn't even started yet. But, the odds are all stacked for them and against the rest of the field. And at Valkenburg, like you mentioned, that 3-car, he just dominated that race. And I don't think that we're going to see that from him today, starting a little bit farther back than he did in that race. Of course, he started Valkenburg on the pole, but it's going to be a really fascinating race because there's a lot of championship drama going on, and there's a lot of different storylines to be following. And of course, there's a lot of guys that just want to get a win. Like finally in this series, they want to win. So I'm really excited to watch this race. I think that this track is awesome, and these cars are going to put on a good show today.
So with that being said, the cars are lined up on the grid, and we are, as always, ready to bring you the 1UP Nitro National Series action from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course, and the green flag is next. Stay tuned. With Jared Jackson and Felix Anderson leading the field to the green flag, the green is in the air. You can see the field getting underway at the Indianapolis road course. They're filing off the final corner down the long front straightaway. And these cars are going to get really fanned out here going into turn 1. Once they hit the braking zone, you can see them fan out. Look at them all, 3 and 4 wide as they dive it off into turn 1. Anderson looks like he's got the advantage going into the corner, but he rides the curb a little bit. That's going to allow Jared Jackson room to take the race lead. And how about Jerry Cook in the 72? He started P11, and already he's gained 5 spots up to 7th place. This is a very good start from the driver of the Grubhub Chevrolet.
Yeah, that was an excellent start from them. And it just all depended on which lane you were in there and when they had to run. As they came through the corners, the preferred lane switched 3 or 4 times just by the nature of the corners there. And Jared Jackson really has gotten out to a good lead to start this race.
Yeah, and he's got his wingman Felix Anderson behind him, ready to play defense for when Mark Davey inevitably catches him. We have on the series right now. He won at Sonoma. He had a good run at Valkenburg as well. So this is a very good lineup for Jeff Bolton Racing if they can get 38 up to the front of the field. But right now, it's the two Chevrolets of Motor Dash Racing that are leading the field. Jared Jackson gets his second pole of the season, and he's going to lead his first laps of the season since, well, last week at Nashville. He led a lot of laps there. and now he's going to lead the first lap here at Indianapolis. A great string of races lately from this 23 car.
Yeah, you know, and that's, I mean, I say it every week, but that's what we always expected out of this 23 car. And they just have not been able to finish off the races. So, of course, it's only lap 2, and we've got to move for second place going into turn 1. A little bit of a draft thing there for the 38. And he's going to get a good run on the outside. Incredible. The 87 really struggles through turn 2 in this race so far. But back to the 23 just for a moment, you know, we expect that team to do well, and they just haven't been able to finish off races, so we'll see if they're able to pull it off today.
Mark Davey moves into second place. That spells bad news for Jared Jackson. If this 38 can make gains on Jared Jackson, this will be a very formidable car to beat. This driver is very talented on the road courses. He's spent years in formula-style racing. He knows how to drive left and right, and he's learned over these last few races how to turn only left as well. He's had good runs on the ovals as well. Had a dreadful weekend at Nashville last week, though. Started outside pole, but almost immediately had issues right off the bat and faded to a 32nd place finish. So a good run here today is essential for this Dunkin' Donuts Chevrolet, or Ford Mustang, I should say. I was looking at the 23 of Jackson there for a moment, but it looks like Davey has already caught the 23 of Jared Jackson. Is going to get to his inside coming off the final corner. This is going to be a very interesting battle as they head off down the front straightaway heading towards turn 1. He's going to have a good run there off the corner, as it looks like you got a smoker on the front straightaway. It's Ryan Caggiano as a move for the lead for Mark Davey as he goes to the inside, but Caggiano's blowing up on the inside, and he's going to hit the... Oh
my.
He's hit the end of the pit barrier there on the exit of pit road, and that will be game over for last week's winner, Ryan Caggiano. He had started 7th, had a lot of momentum going, but a blown engine early and then a crash immediately following it spells the end of the race for the Australian native. But his fellow countryman, Mark Davey, has taken the lead from Jared Jackson, and now the Motor Dash cars run 2-3. Not at all what they had wanted after locking out the front row, but that just goes to show how strong of a road course driver Mark Davey really is.
Yeah, it only took him 2 laps to get out front, and that was a real shame what happened on the front stretch there. It was a little bit of a bizarre incident too, so we'll probably be looking into that later in the day to figure out exactly what happened there. But yeah, this 38 car is looking really, really good right now, and you know, at this point for the Motor Dash racing cars, they're just going to have to focus in and say, look, we've got to save our stuff for the end of this race. We don't want to burn it up. That 38 car is running real hard laps right now, so if they could keep their stuff fresh for the end of the race, or more fresh than the rest of everybody, then they might still have a shot at this thing, you know. And if they catch a caution here and there, you know, anything is possible. We're only on lap 4.
They won't be able to catch a full course caution because we don't have that rule set in the One Up Racing Series for the road courses that would only extend the race for an extended amount of time. That would not bode well for the drivers. So we have local yellows only on road courses, but that would still allow them to gain ground if Davey experiences a problem as we look back into the rest of the field here. As Davey powers onto the back straightaway, he's just looks like he's got everything in control in that 38 Ford. And he's left the 2 Chevrolets of Jackson and Anderson in the dust. They're now almost 2 seconds off the lead already. It doesn't look like that much when you look at the cars on track, but it really is a good lead for Mark Davey to have as we process lap number 4 of 26 here in Indianapolis.
Yeah, and you can see just the way that this car goes through the corners. I mean, he's hitting all of the curbs just right. You know, I mean, the curbs here are really usable in that they're a little bit flat, you know, but they still help your car turn. But right there through the carousel, you don't really want to touch it. Gets a little bit of it there, helps him get around the corner, you know. And he's just hitting all of his marks every single lap. He's coming wide through there to get a good run on the straightaway. And these 2 cars are about to maybe start battling down the front stretch, which is not going to help them catch that 38 car if they really wanted to, but I'm not sure if anything would allow them to catch that 38 car right now. But racing certainly isn't it.
He's now 2.5 seconds top two cars as Keon Daly and Sam Donotto go at it for 4th position. Donotto will take that spot away from the 52 driver. And Jerry Cook's going to have a look to the inside as well after that massive start from the Robbers Racing driver. He's now battling for looks like the 5th position here at Indy. And it looks like he's going to get it too, maybe. These two are going to continue to battle it out down the back straightaway. But Jerry Cook is sitting 25th in points, is yet to get a top 10 this season. Could today be the day? He had an immense start to this race. Let's see now if he can hold on to it.
Yeah, you know, that car is looking really, really stout right now. He took advantage a little bit of the pass that the 00 made. And speaking of that 00 car, you know, you got to watch that car and of course, Alex in the 3 car, because those two are the ones on the top of points. And right now, Sam Donotto is putting up a little bit of a fight and maybe making Alex sweat a little bit in the 3 car, but you know, it's still early in this race. And now we're watching Jared Jackson, who continues to fall farther and farther behind that 38 car. But in respect to what's going on at a level that this car is competing at right now, nobody is really quite up to the 38 car standard that is being set. Oh, but he gained about a half second that lap, which is really good. But those two cars in 2nd and 3rd have separated themselves from each other, which is probably helping them gain some time. Of course, they just gained a half second, which is a really solid gain. Maybe the 38 car is starting to save his stuff a little bit.
Looking back at the battle for 10th position now, Justin Hutchinson making a return to the Nitro National Series after Autumn Koger drove that 2 car to a top 5 finish at Nashville. Hutchinson takes over in that ride, and he battles Zachary DeLello in the 03 for the 10th position, and he's got Kyle Corbett and Brett Bishop back there as well. So these 4 are having a spirited battle for the 10th position, and Zachary DeLello is the highlight for Team Dayspring so far in this race. They've really picked up their pace the last few weeks, and it's really showing. They're making gains in the standings. Remember, Francois Chastain in the other Dayspring car was fastest in practice. A shock to the garage, but I'm sure it was what he really was looking for all along.
For sure, you know, it's the Dayspring cars have been doing really well recently, ever since that little bit of drama that went down, and you know, it was like just that switch flipped. All of a sudden at that team, they realized it was serious. They realized it was time to go, and then that's exactly what they did. So it's really awesome to see those guys doing well. You know, and we're watching this lead maybe dwindle a little bit for Mark Davey. And Jared Jackson is starting to eat into it a little bit lap by lap.
And looking back at the rest of the top 10, you can see all the way back to 9th place, they fit in a little bit out of line going down in the turn 1. That's just what these cars do to try and get a peak of fresh air from behind the car behind them. There you see Francois Chastain in the 10. He's running in the 14th position. He was fastest in practice, like I said. And right behind him, Jake McMillan making his Nitro National Series debut in his cell phone number 21. He's a regular in the Superstar Series, and he's always good on the road courses over there. So this was no better an opportunity to get some seat time in the Nitro National Series on a track layout that he knows well. And he's running top 15, which is very good for a startup organization making their first ever start in the series.
Yeah, you know, that you're absolutely right. Running in 15th place is pretty solid for a first start, and there's a little bit of chaos right in front of him. I would not be surprised if that car got some more spots by the end of this race. And there's Alexa Lutchen, who we've thought was going to have a good run last week and just didn't pan out for that team. And this week, another disappointing 17th place run right now in the works.
Yeah, we're not used to seeing Lutchen, Dillon Young, Aaron Hall this far back, but sure enough, they're 17th, 18th, 19th, just ahead of Eric Monaco in the 73 car. Santiago Alvarez runs 21st. He's a well-experienced road racer as well. In that 98 car, he's putting a solid run together. Elijah Ironhouse, another car we don't expect to be this far back, but here he is battling Jared Polanski, making a return to the Nitro National Series. They're battling it out for the 22nd position, and Polanski looks like he's going to take that from Ironhouse there as they go down the front straightaway. Right behind them, Devin Fair in the 3rd Dayspring car, running in 24th, as Jackson gets a little out of shape right ahead of Ironhouse, but he will take the position away from the driver of the number 8. As we look back to the rest of the field here, Fair running in 24th, like I said. Keith Hughes, after that DNF at Nashville, runs 25th, ahead of actually almost all his teammates. Able to grow in the 5, just got around Kenneth Grant in the 55. That's the battle for 26, and Kevin Carter's making a move around Grant as well in the 07. Another Superstar Series driver taking advantage of the doubleheader weekend here. Christian Russell runs 29th, ahead of his teammate Earl Sear, who's actually running double duty this weekend. He qualified for the Superstar Series race as well for Royal Performance Motorsports, so good to see Earl Sear getting some extra seat time as well. Ahead of Kason Cooper in the 31st position, just not up to scratch with the rest of his teammates, but hopefully he can turn his season around in the second half. Jose Guerrero runs right behind him in 32nd, another good road racer and super speedway racer, so this Indianapolis weekend is a good chance for him to shine. As Chris Lattimore runs 34th, ahead of Kyle Vaughters, making an infrequent appearance in the Nitro National Series for Royal Performance Motorsports, a team he owns. And behind him, Logan Williams has struggled back to 36 after starting fairly well in that number 1 Dodge for Full Frontal Motorsports. John McFadden is battling Giovanni Pena for the 37th position back there. Not where we expect the 99 to run, but that's where he is running right now. AJ Jones runs in the 40th position ahead of his teammate David Dixon, and Sam Joseph runs in the 42nd position. That's your run through the field. We're on lap number 9, and Mark Davey has maintained a 2-second lead over the rest of the field.
Yeah, it was almost like he's been managing that gap for a couple of laps now that he lost a little bit of time. He gained some of it back. You know, him and the 23 car kind of playing back and forth like a yo-yo game right now. But they are both driving away from the 87 and the 00. The 52 also is pretty far back. You know, only the top 6 are within 10 seconds of the leader at this moment. So these guys are setting a pace in this race, and they're gonna try to just drive away and battle it out amongst themselves towards the end. We'll see if the gap changes here. I expect it to grow. Yeah, by a significant amount. It's down to 3.5 seconds. But look at this right here. The 00 car, Sam Denoto, has caught up to these two Motor Dash racing cars, and now the battle is on between Sam Denoto and these cars. You know, those are valuable points that he needs sitting in second place in the championship standings. Just got to separate himself from that 3 car in 6th place right now.
So Jared Jackson running a comfortable second ahead of his team owner Felix Anderson. Denoto runs 4th, Daly 5th, Alex Projet-Barube 6th, ahead of Cook, Martinez, Onjack, and Dolello has moved himself into the top 10 ahead of Brett Bishop and Justin Hutchinson. So Zachary Dolello having a very good run for Team Dayspring in the 10th position. Not known to be that good a road course racer, but he's showing how much progress that Team Dayspring organization has made. He's running solidly in the top 10, the highest of the Team Dayspring cars, and he's set to move up into the top 20 in points at the rate he's going. So good run from that 03 car. Very nice to see.
Absolutely, you know, and all road courses are rhythm tracks, and if you are a driver that is able to get a rhythm down and start really putting in laps and just making sure that everything is right and every lap just feeling it out and using that rhythm to your advantage.
I hate to interrupt, but we're gonna go on board with Felix Anderson for a lap around Indianapolis. Take us through this 2.431 mile road course. Every corner, see what you can get.
Yeah, like I was saying, you know, it's all about the rhythm, and this is the hardest braking zone on the track. It's the longest straightaway, the tightest corner, and you really want to use up as much curb as you can coming through turn 2 right there. It helps you turn after that tight turn 1, and then you're coming through here. It's almost like a carousel, except it's really flat, so you kind of half throttle, making it through, and then this is a tight left-right here. You want to be careful because he got a little bit loose right there, you can tell. You don't really want to get loose there. You want to have as much speed as you can because this is the second longest straightaway on this track heading down towards turn 7, which is another great passing zone here. You can gain a lot of time missed that apex a little bit right there, but it didn't hurt him all that much. And then this is kind of the S's section, 8, 9, and then going into 10 right here. You know, you just gotta nail it. It's all about rhythm through there, and kind of working the throttle, being half throttle, quarter throttle through there, a little bit of brake too, and then they come back up onto the oval track in the banking, and then come right back off of it through turn 12 and 13, and then eventually 14. Once they come through here, this is a full throttle corner where you're just gonna try to arc it really wide around and get back onto the front stretch, the long straightaway here at Indianapolis, and do it all over.
Excellent, expert analysis. Excellent. We've got there. We're lucky to have someone with racing experience here in the booth with us, as Felix Anderson took us for a lap around this sprawling road course here in Indianapolis, but he's 5.4 seconds off the lead, and even his teammate Jared Jackson 4.4 seconds off the lead driver Mark Davey. So Davey is looking to dominate this race like Alex Vergepperoux did at Falkenberg. He's not going to lead every lap because Jared Jackson led the first two, but if he keeps this up, he's going to have a very comfortable margin ahead of him, as it looks like Sam Donotto is going to put Felix Anderson under fire for that third position. We'll see how late they break into this corner. It just looks like Anderson's going to hold him off for now, but man, that 00 is great. Is a great car no matter what track type we go to. So expect him to be up front for the rest of this season as he contends for a championship.
Absolutely. You know, and we're only about halfway through this race, not even. And I would not be surprised if that 00 car is able to get into second place. I believe that there could be a challenge for the lead by the end of this thing. Of course, Sam Donotto has been racing a lot harder than the 38. The 38 car, Mark Davey, has just been kind of smooth sailing since he took the lead. So that could help the 38 car's case in as far as tire wear and all that stuff. I believe that 00 car is fast enough to maybe run down that 38 car, but first he's got to go through the Motor Dash racing cars to try to catch that guy in the 38.
Who is putting on a clinic in this race. Mark Davey has led the last 10 laps of this race, and here we got a battle for second between the two teammates, Jackson and Anderson. Jackson takes that corner a little acutely, and that's going to allow Anderson to get past him, move the 87 into second place. This would be a career high for Felix Anderson if he can finish right there. Jackson, of course, has finished third before. He's finished there last week at Nashville, so Jackson knows what it's like to finish third. Anderson has no idea what it's like to race this far out the field, and he's savoring every moment of it.
You know, and they did a really nice job. If you're going to pass a teammate, you should really pass them like that, because that 00 car is sitting there just waiting for that move, the 87 car was, and not allow the 00 to take advantage of the 23 car being in a different lane and being kind of out of the groove. So good on them for even though they were making a pass and they weren't really working together, they were racing, but it was good on them to find a spot for that to happen, to not allow the 00 to just kind of waltz by, because now they're still racing for second place and instead of third.
One thing I've noticed as they come through turn 14 onto the front straightaway, if you can take as Jared Jackson dives it down the inside to try and take second back. I was noticing as they go for turn 14, as Jackson successfully repasses his teammate Anderson, if you can get a less wide angle into that corner, take it a little sharper, you can actually gain a lot of time on the car ahead of you, because like you said, it's an almost full throttle corner, as we can report an unfortunate break for the driver making his Nitro National Series debut. Jake McMillan has blown up on lap number 14 of 26. His race, his Nitro National Series debut, has come to a premature end, but he was running so well, and we're gonna see him for 8 more races this year. I expect him to shine as those races progress, especially when we head to Watkins Glen, his favorite racetrack and his home racetrack. So expect that 21 to be really good there as we see the battle for second intensify between Jackson and Anderson.
Absolutely. You know, and Jackson got back by Anderson as we're coming through that section you were talking about with the getting a good run down the front stretch. You really need to. We'll see what the 87 is able to do
Yeah,
here.
he gets a shorter run around that corner, and that's going to allow him to get right back onto the bumper of his teammate down the long front straightaway. This is going to be interesting to take a look and see if he can close the gap with that draft down the front straightaway. It's not as effective as on an intermediate or a super speedway, or even on the Indianapolis Oval, but and Denoto takes a really wide angle. That's into turn one. That's going to cost him a little bit of time. As you can see, Mark Davey has built an 8.6 second lead. For the record, at Valkenburg, even Alex Verget-Berube, in the road course whiz that he is, was unable to build more than a 5.6 second lead. Yeah. So this just goes to show we may have a new road course king in town, and he comes from the land down under driving the Duncan Ford Mustang.
Well, cool your jets. I don't know about that, but we'll see after this race is over. Of course, Sam Denoto still has to take a crack at that 38 car. Of course, I think that he right now is kind of saving his stuff a little bit, but it sure does look like he's on fire, similar to a rocket ship right now. But, you know, I wanted to mention about the 87 car, Felix Anderson. He has been struggling all day coming through turn 2. That's just where he's getting beat every single lap. And that's where the 23 was able to pass him again. So if he's able to figure out that corner sometime during this race, he's definitely going to have a better shot at finishing in second place. But right now, Mark Davey is just dominating this race and putting everybody to shame, really.
You mentioned Sam Denoto not yet having a crack at him. I'm not sure he's going to be able to get there. Because look at this gap between Davey and Jackson. It's up to 9.5 seconds, and Denoto's 10.6 behind. And that gap is growing every single lap. I'm not so sure they'll even have a chance. I think the battle it's like an Olympic title fight. You might want to settle for, when you know a gold is out of reach, you might want to have to settle for silver, and that might be what the two Motor Dash cars and San Denoto are thinking. They might think that 38's too far long gone, and they may have to contend for second place. As it looks like Keon Daly and Alex Verget-Berube are actually catching these three, so it may become a 5-car battle for second here soon.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and I believe that that's why the 23 and the 87 have started racing each other so hard. They know they're not going to catch that 38 car, and I think that when they were closer and the 00 was clicking off some good lap times, I think that he would have had a shot at catching the 38 car, but right now, I don't believe so. I think that even if he were able to get by the 87 and the 23, which it doesn't look like he's anywhere near them right now. Oh, he's farther behind than he has been for a couple laps. But you know, I think that he would be able to gain a little bit, but he's not going to catch him for second place for the rest of this race. And that 3 car got by the 52 that lap. It was actually a pass, and that means that he's only 1 position behind the 00 car, and we've got one on pit road.
That's Christian Russell in the 26. He was running in the 29th position, but he had an issue with that CMR roofing Toyota, and he is now down into 40th position, 1 lap down in that 26 car. He's got some fresh tires. Let's see what he can do with them to try and salvage something out of this race. But even still, that is a harsh blow on a road course to pit under green when no one else has to. That is just going to set that 26 back further. And he was on the playoff bubble lately. He came into this 8th or, I believe, 7th, 8th, 9th in points. So
he was 7th in points, and he did not have a huge gap. So that's going to really, really hurt that team in the points with very few races left.
Yeah, we don't have that many races to go until the playoffs begin. Because remember, we have a 7-race playoff. And right now, including this race, we only have 11 races to go in the whole season. So we only have 4 or 5 races left in the regular season for Christian Russell to try and gain some ground back up. And one of them's on another road course at Watkins Glen. So with this being a weakness, apparently, for that 26 team. That could spell trouble, as Anderson's gotten back by his teammate, Jared Jackson. These two have been going at it properly for several laps now, and now Anderson's comfortably ahead by about 0.8 of a second, as now Alex Fitzgerald starting to close in on his championship rival. This ought to be fun.
Yeah, and Keon Daly has fallen back, and in fact, I think that he's going to lose yet another position to the 86 car back there. So that's interesting. I wonder what's going on with that car, if it's just that he used up his stuff or not. But he was putting together a good run. It's starting to fall apart right now. While the 3 car, his title is in jeopardy today, it sounds like, as the road course king. Maybe he'll be able to bring it back now that he's gotten by the 52. We'll see what he's able to do with these 3. We have a new contender for that second place position that has been so highly contested so far.
Yeah, like you said, Keon Daly's now falling into the clutches of Nicky Martinez in the 25. They are battling it out for the 6th position in this race, with Jerry Cook a further 3 seconds behind them. He's still on pace to get his first career top 10 today, and he's about 4 seconds ahead of 11th place. So it's very well possible he could get that milestone here this afternoon. And we've only got about 8 laps to go in this race. So pending an incident on track, Jerry Cook's looking good for his first top 10 here.
Absolutely he is, and at the very beginning of the race, that was kind of the thing that happened. He was doing really good. He passed a lot of cars at the very beginning, and now he's going to make it happen here in 7th place. He's just having a solid run for himself.
Looking back at this battle, for the 6th position, Daly and Martinez, teammates at King's Motorsports. Martinez is going to take a peek on the inside, quite literally, on Keon Daly in the 52. He rides the curb a little bit in turn 2. That's the one corner where the curb does not help you very much, because it rides you up a little bit, and that's going to allow Martinez to get past. She's an accomplished road course racer as well. Remember, last season in the Superstar Series, back when it was called the Retro Cup Series, she managed to pull off a win at the Charlotte Roval. So, a track similar to this in terms of road course oval hybrid. So, it's not surprising to see Martinez doing this well up now in 6th position.
No, the only thing surprising about that is the jarring paint scheme on that race car. Like quite literally taking a peek. That was a good one. I liked that. But now we're watching the 23 car, who I believe is still sitting in 3rd place behind his teammate, unless there is another change for position. No, he's still in 3rd because the 00 is just behind them. They've started to spread out a little bit more. They might close up together this lap, but it's just like every race we have. There's flowing, they compress and then they expand a little bit, just catch their breath for a while and then start going back at it. And we're running out of laps here for these guys to really make moves. So we'll see how they're able to advance, and if Sam Donotto is ever able to take a shot at passing one of these 2 Motor Dash racing cars.
And and it's official now, Mark Davies' lead is over 10 seconds. This will be the biggest margin of victory, I believe, we've had in the Nitro National Series all season long. Because remember that dominating performance by Jared Polansky last week at Kentucky in the Superstar Series? That was a 19-second margin of victory. I wonder if Mark Davey can make that much of a gap over the rest of the field. We still have 7 laps to go. It's very well possible. But he's going to have to put the loud pedal down a little bit, stops conserving a little bit, although he really doesn't need to push that hard. He's got an almost 11-second lead. He can give up a second a lap every lap for the rest of this race and still comfortably win this race. So that is the margin that Mark Davey has built. This could quite possibly be the most dominating performance of the season, even surpassing Alex's run at Valkenburg. Even if Davey hasn't led every lap, this could still possibly be the most dominating day we've seen.
Yeah, and you're right. He's got everybody 7th on back, more than 19 seconds back, and I hear 11:01. So he's got everybody 11 seconds behind him now. You can't even see him coming through turn 1 as he's coming through turn 3 right there, going to turn 4 now. man, this car is just hitting on all cylinders today, and it seems like there's nothing that can stop this 38 car right now. It looks like the best race car ever.
Some fans may take a look at this race and they'll say, oh, look, it's another road course and another driver is dominating the race, as we see another battle between the Motor Dash Racing teammates for second place. They might look at this race and say, oh, another driver is leading almost every lap. It's another road course. It's standard fare, fairly boring stuff. But remember, Mark Davey had to pass cars to get to that lead.
Yes, he did.
And remember, and these Motor Dash cars have been passing each other almost every lap for second. So there's been overtaking in this race, and a lot of it. As Sam Denota runs a little off track over the curb. That's going to allow Alex to close in a little bit. But, as we said, there's been passing in this race, and a lot of it. This road course has been great, perhaps second only to Watkins Glen as far as terms of racing action. And we go there in a couple weeks' time, so expect some good racing there. But Indianapolis has proven to be a very good circuit for these guys. It's produced a lot of passing. It's produced a lot of on-track battles. And even though we have one driver with an 11-second lead that could potentially grow next time they cross the line, he deserves to be up there. He passed people to get up there. He worked his tail off to get to that point. He's gotten almost 13-second lead. He's worked to get to that point, and he's doing what a good road course driver does, conserving his stuff, managing his stuff. And right now, looking back for the rest of the field at Nicky Martinez, and back up again to the battle for second between Anderson and Jackson. These guys are putting on quite a show for the fans at Indianapolis. It's a great place. It's a place full of history, and I'm sure we're going to add to that history when the checkered flag flies here today.
Absolutely. You know, this track is always so good for just entertainment value and racing value and just the way that they are able to all race together, and there's so many passing zones. You know, it's just such a great place to race at, and have this series come here in conjunction with the 400 tomorrow. It's really awesome. And then to see some of the superstar guys racing in this race, even though it's not even on the same layout, is really cool. It just shows how much drivers want to race at this track because it's so historic, and Mark Davey is adding his name to people who have had amazing performances at this historic racetrack.
Looking back now at Jerry Cook, he's running in the 8th position still, but he's losing time to Peter Onjak in that 70. So, and Zachary DeLillo's gaining on them as well. So his position is not as safe as it was a little while ago. I still expect him to finish fairly well in this race. Perhaps the worst he could probably do is like 12th or 13th, and even that would help him in the points ladders. He's currently outside the top 20. But as we have 4 laps to go in this race, the battle is heating up between Cook, Onjak, and DeLillo, and further back you can see Kyle Corbett and Brett Bishop battling. Here comes Onjak making a move for the 8th position. Cook is hugging that curb, and that's not where you want to be in turn 2. Onjak is through into 8th place.
Yeah, that wasn't the right move there for Cook. He really needed to stay off of that curb, but he just didn't have enough room, and he got on it, and he kind of slid through the corner, so he lost all of his momentum and lost the position too. So that was an unfortunate situation there, but still running in 9th place. Pretty good run for the 72 car. He's got that top 10 intact as of right now, so he's looking good. And of course that car is pretty quick, despite being 27 seconds behind the leader. He's not the only one that far back, of course, so he's looking good, having a good day today.
Mark Davey comes off turn 14. He will take 3 laps to go at the line. He just got to manage his stuff. As you can see, there's no one behind him for a very long time. So he can afford to give up. 3 seconds per lap, and he will still have a comfortable margin of victory. That just goes to show how amazing of a road course driver Mark Davey is. He's raced in Formula cars. He's done very well over there. And it just goes to show his transition over to stock car racing has gone seamlessly. Even on the ovals, he's run pretty well. He started outside pole at Nashville as well. As we look back at the battle for Second, Anderson and Jackson continue to go at it, and Sam Donato is just lurking back there, hoping for these two to have a little coming together, and allow Donato to gain an additional 7 points by moving up into second place.
Yeah, and boy, that would be an awkward meeting on Monday for these two teammates if they were to have such a strong run today in second and third, and then end up wrecking at the end of the race. That would be an unfortunate situation for those guys, but fortunate for Noto, though you never want to see that.
Yeah, it reminds me of another Jackson who had a coming together with his teammate on a road circuit, and that led to some very awkward team meetings, but that's all in the past now. We're focused on the conclusion of this race. But Felix Anderson's starting to build a gap. I think this is his most comfortable track type on these road courses, and he's doing a good job. He may be 13 seconds behind the leader, and that gap may grow, but he's building a gap over his teammate Jackson, and that could very well contribute into a career best finish for him, even if he actually gained 0.2 on that lap. So So perhaps Davies just saving his stuff for this final 2 laps of this race, because right now he's got a 13-second lead. He can afford to give up 5 seconds each lap and still win this race. He can afford to do all this.
Yeah, and he's probably backed off just a little bit. He's not going for records right now. He's just trying to get to the checker flag.
Although for the record, he already has the fastest lap of the race, so he doesn't need to go for that at the end of this race. So he's good there.
Yeah, so he's just able to back off right now. There's no reason for this race car to be pushing it, because if he were to spin out, that would hurt his chances of winning this race significantly. And I can't say that if he were to just spin out, he would get past. He is that far ahead. But you really don't want to try and find out.
It depends on where on the track you spin, because there are some brutal sand traps here that if you get stuck in those, it's game over. But there are some cases where there's tarmac runoff, and it's pretty safe. As Mark Davey comes off turn 14 to take the white flag, which is in the air. We have 1 lap remaining here at Indianapolis.
Yep, the double white flag displaying it on the flag stand right there. 1 lap to go for Mark Davey, and he is all by himself passing by this crowd on the front stretch. And then you see everybody else just exiting turn 14 as he is entering turn 1. This is an absolute monster of a performance from this 38 car. He's 13.5 seconds ahead at the line that time. It's just something that you don't see very often, a car that's this much stronger than the rest of the field. We knew that this was going to be a tough car to beat when he passed for the lead on the 3rd lap of this race. He was able to get up there, he was able to pass all the people he needed to and just drive by, and now we can see why. His car was just simply faster than every other car in the race.
Team Motors, take notice, he is not signed with anybody yet for 2022, and it would mark his first run for a championship, because he's not going to be able to compete for a championship this season. He missed a handful of races earlier in the season. But Team Motors, take note, he's not signed yet. I would be surprised if Jeff Bolton Racing would let him go at this rate, because he is just proving to be the road course king here in the Nitro National Series as he comes through turn 13 for the final time, coming up down the short stretch, slowest portion of the racetrack, coming through turn 14 for the final time. Mark Davey has put on an absolute dominating performance here at Indianapolis. He sees the checkered flag, and now, as he crosses the start-finish line, Mark Davey cements himself as the first Indianapolis winner in the Nitro National Series. But we still got a good race from here on back, because Felix Anderson's coming through turn 14. He will take second place for his career best finish in the 1-Up Nitro National Series. Jared Jackson comes home third again. Sam Donato and Alex Verget-Barub come home 4th and 5th to keep their championship battle alive. Nicky Martinez 6th ahead of Keon Daly 7th. Peter Onjak's back there. He will take 8th place for another top 10 run. And here, a drag race for 9th position. Jerry Cook's just going to hold off Kyle Corbett for his first career top 10 in the 1-Up Nitro National Series, just ahead of Zachary DeLello and Francois Chastain in 2 Team J-Spring entries to finish 11th and 12th. That was a very intense race to the line for these two guys, and to cap off a memorable weekend here at Indianapolis to settle this race. This was an incredible race, even if Mark Davey kind of stunk the show by leading 24 of the 26 laps. That, I wouldn't call that stinking up the show. He proved he earned it. He passed both of the Motor Dash racing cars to get there.
Yep. Well, he stunk up the Motor Dash Racing show. They qualified on the pole. They were both faster than him in qualifying, and then they led the first 2 laps. But after that, it was all over. You know, this car was just way faster than everybody else, and sometimes that's how it goes. Sometimes you have to take the loss and sit there in second and third place, which is a respectable finish in a race like this. You know, if you're gonna lose, you might as well lose to somebody that nobody can catch. So. Very well done from all of those cars that finished up in the top of this race, and I'll tell you what, I really hope that to see this track on the schedule again. It was a fantastic race, a fantastic showing from Mark Davey, and boy, it was exciting. The championship battle just gets better and better every single week, and I'm excited for the next.
And speaking of the next, if you thought this race was exciting, wait till you see where we're going next. We're headed back to the high banks of Pensacola International Speedway.
Yeah.
Remember, we started the season there. Remember that chaotic finish with Sam Zanotto, Devin Fair clashing with 2 laps to go, and Kenneth Grant taking an upset victory. We could see something similar happen under the lights at Pensacola. It'll be really fun for us to watch as commentators, and we hope you'll join us as fans and as drivers for the 15th race of the One-Up Nitro National Series season. We really hope you'll join us for that race. It's going to be a good one, just as it was here at Indianapolis. So from Duke and Zach and from myself as well, we're going to say goodbye for now. From the famous Brickyard at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and Mark Davies got to get our big congratulations because he has cemented his name among the living legends who have won at this great racetrack. Stay tuned tomorrow, though, because the Brickyard 400 is next.